Hey everybody, welcome to Radio EXOTICA FM. We are live and it is 28 minutes past 8 Central African time. It is election day here in South Africa and we hope that you are all having an amazing time. If you guys have voted, that is awesome. If you haven't, you still have a little bit of time, and if you're there in the line before 9 o'clock, you still get to vote. So anybody who wants to vote can go vote right now at your nearest polling station. There are a few polling stations that have experienced a few problems. For example, there's one polling station in the northern suburbs of Johannesburg that have unfortunately run out of ballots, but they did get more, so that should be good. On the upside, we are really excited to bring you something marvelous here tonight. There is something unbelievable to be talking about. We've got some great topics. This is going to be a topic-based show, so if you guys want to hear any of the topics, please listen in and have a really fun time, because we're going to have some awesome topics. The first topic we're going to start out with is the South African election. Now, basically, for those of you who don't know, the South African election is basically the biggest thing in South Africa this year, besides for all the other sporting events, let's say. But in South Africa itself, it is the biggest thing of the year, because it is not just a provincial election or a local municipal election or even a ward election. This is actually the national elections to elect the party that is going to govern the country. And it seems as if it's a very much different game than the last time there were elections like this. The last national elections occurred back 4 years ago, and they were a very different game. Excuse me, sorry, my producer just told me 5 years ago. They occurred 5 years ago, and they were a very different game, with the ANC still maintaining a stronghold. The ANC being the African National Congress. Now, the Democratic Alliance and the Economic Freedom Fighters both have a very bold claim in this election, stating that they both claim to win many different parts of the South African government and of the South African cabinet, or parliament as it's known over here. Now, one of the things is that the DA, the Democratic Alliance, is currently the party that is probably the closest to dethroning the ANC, with them having had at least 40% in the polls prior to the elections tonight. Now, the elections, like I said, are something very important for South Africans, because this is the time when we vote. And unlike in other countries, in certain countries such as America, we do not vote for a president. We actually vote for an entire party. For example, the ANC with the African National Congress, the Economic Freedom Fighters, the Black First Land First, the Democratic Alliance, COPE, Good, etc. There are many parties to choose from, and there's a lot of different views in this year's elections, with a lot of young people actually being disillusioned and a lot of young people opting not to vote. Now, there are two reasons why votes have been down this year compared to prior elections, and that is, number one, because the votes this year that have been coming in are a lot less due to weather, and that is something that is very different to what it usually is this time of year. It is winter here in the southern hemisphere, and it shouldn't be raining in Johannesburg, but it seems as if it's raining in a lot of parts of the country, and that has contributed to a lot of voters not coming out to vote this year. Now, one of the things as well, which I see being a very big part in the elections not being something really packed this year, is the fact that there seems to be a situation of hopelessness, of disillusionment among young people, that it doesn't really matter who they vote for, it doesn't really matter what the outcome of the elections is, that they are disillusioned, that they don't believe that there should be any other party that should run the country. They don't believe that there's any hope whatsoever. And that in turn creates a very scary reality, which is that you really don't have so much that you can do now. You have the situation where it seems as if there's nothing that will keep these young voters in the game. There's nothing that will have these young voters voting. And it's something that here at Radio EXOTICA FM we've been following pretty closely. And it seems as if the elections are therefore a lot less in terms of quantity than what they usually are. Now, one of the things is the realities of elections in general, which is the fact that elections as a concept is something that is a very, very monumental time in any country in the world that has democratic elections. Because the fact that a human being who is not part of any specific government or working for any specific governing party can choose to vote for someone they would like to see in and contribute to that person or that party being in power is a monumental thing that should be taken very, very seriously. And I believe here, especially nowadays, you see a lot less of that serious demeanor towards elections. It's much more of an open forum in a way that could be construed as negative. Now, one of the things that I find most negative about this year's elections is that there have been a lot of backstabbing and a lot of politics that have been played out in the open that will usually not be played. For example, the EFF, the Economic Freedom Fighters, claiming that other parties are grossly racist and should be barred from elections, while the FF Plus, the Freedom Fighters Plus, the Freedom Front Plus, have been taking the Black First Land First party to court prior to the elections to try to get them barred for breaking the electoral rules. Now, the Electoral Commission has said that the Black First Land First are still within the lines of the rules and therefore stand as a party, and that is how it stands at elections. However, the courts have ruled that Black First Land First do have to remove all signs that state their slogan, which is, and this is a scary reality that this is an official slogan, land or death. It is a scary slogan. It is a hate speech slogan. It is a slogan filled with terror, and therefore it is a slogan that should not be on any political party's posters or on their website or as any part of a political party's campaign. And as such, the courts have ruled that they need to remove it. Now, one of the things that they've done to do is to force them to remove it within 30 days or face consequences. Now, of course, the Commission for Freedom of Speech has lashed out at this, stating that they should not be forced to remove this, as it is not hate speech, but more that it is construed as critical, and therefore that certain people who are offended by it does not mean that it is a majority and therefore it is hate speech. Now, that is something that is very much up for debate, and we want to know your thoughts. So you can connect with us on Twitter at EXOTICA FM, or you can send us an email. The email is in the Spreaker page link, as well as you can definitely chat with us right here on Spreaker using the live chat /comment section. Now, all you got to do is to chat with us. It is the easiest way to connect with you guys. If you connect using the chat feature here, it is the easiest and quickest way that we will see your thoughts. We want to know your thoughts. We want to know what you guys think. It is definitely something that is a severe and scary reality when a party has something like land or death on their official statement as their official slogan. Now, they have refused outright to remove that slogan and say that they will go to war with the courts. And that is something that Black First Land First, in my opinion, cannot afford to do. If they are to be a true political party, it doesn't seem as if it's the best decision for them to go to war with the courts and to go to war with the people. Now, on the other hand, a lot of young people are disillusioned with the ANC, and a lot of the older generation are starting to be disillusioned with the ANC, the African National Congress, which has been the ruling party since the end of apartheid 25 years ago. And it will be very interesting to see whether the African National Congress can retain a majority in the country, or whether they will actually have to form a coalition government or risk losing government entirely. It is something that we will be following very closely and keep you up to date on Twitter at EXOTICA FM. You can check it out there after the show goes off the air. We will be posting regular updates as the elections go through. We will be posting hourly updates until round about midnight, and after that we will be posting updates the next morning to tell you exactly how things have been going throughout the elections and throughout the night of counting. Now, we're going to move on to the next topic. Of course, that is the topic of the World Surf League. Now, the World Surf League, for those of you who don't know, it is a fantastic, fantastic league for the world's best surfers in current professional surfing. Now, one of the things that has happened recently is that there has been a monumental shift in the way that the World Surf League views both men and women. And the World Surf League announced that they would pay equal pay to both men and women, which in my opinion is an extremely, extremely good sign for the World Surf League. It is high time that women surfers get equal pay to men surfers. It is definitely something that should be something that should have been done a long time ago, in my opinion, and something that definitely is a good sign. Now, of course, the rankings of the World Surf League are very important as well, and the rankings are neck and neck in the top three. Of course, John Florence, having just won the recent tournament, has gone from number 2 to number 1 with 16,085 points. Italo Ferreira, who was number 1, has now dropped to number 2 with 14,745 points. And Jordy Smith, the South African, is in third place with 12,170 points. Then you have Felipe Toledo, an excellent Brazilian surfer, with 11,120 points. Gabriel Medina, another Brazilian surfer, with 9,490 points in fifth place. And finally, rounding up the top 6, Kolohe Andino from the United States with 9,130 points. And then you have, of course, the women's surf league rankings. Caroline Marks with 16,085 points. She has retained her number 1 spot this week. And of course, Malia Manuel from Hawaii, she dropped from number 1 to number 2 with 13,885 points. Courtney Conlog, a former world champion and an excellent shortboard surfer, in third place with 12,610 points. Carissa Moore, another amazing surfer from Hawaii, with 12,545 points, so right behind Courtney Conlog. And then, of course, in fifth place, Stephanie Gilmore, a multiple-time world champion, with 9,490 points, just lagging a bit behind everyone else, having not been able to fully get the starts that you wanted this season. And rounding out the top 6, dropping all the way from 3rd to 6th, unfortunately, is Lakey Peterson. Lakey Peterson, an incredible shortboard surfer with an incredible talent for making comebacks out of nowhere. She, with 8,695 points, sits in 6th place. Now, we're going to see exactly what happens with the World Surf League, and we're going to make sure that we keep you guys up to date as well, because it is definitely something worth checking out. If you guys haven't checked it out, you can check almost all of the World Surf League's clips on YouTube. It is a really, really cool thing to do. Check them out at World Surf League on YouTube. You can also check them out at worldsurfleague.com. They are an incredible promotion. They really have revolutionized the way professional surfing is. And now, just to talk about surfing in general, it's something that really does cause a lot of different thoughts from a lot of different people. Surfing is something that is definitely evokes a feeling of relaxation, of, oneness with the water, and of just an overall peace of mind. And it is something that is truly for every type of person, because as long as you can stand, you can learn how to surf. Yes, it might be more difficult. Yes, it might take you a lot longer, but it depends on your skill level, of course. But at the same time, it is very much an everyone's sport. It is a very, very cool thing to do. It is both a lifestyle and a sport, and you can either do it as a sport or you can do it as a recreational lifestyle, which really brings with it a lot more than what people realize. Surfing is something that is so unique. It is so cool. It is so relaxing to do, and it is so amazing to see how people have taken to surfing over the years, with guys like Slater bringing it into the forefront with his rivalries over the years, and Andy Irons being the top rival, of course, in his career before, unfortunately, Andy Irons' untimely death at a very young age in his early 30s. Now, something very interesting that we're going to be discussing as well about surfing is the entire concept of the World Surf League and how it got started. For those of you who out there who know the World Surf League, you know that the World Surf League is probably the best way to watch professional surfing in the world. It is incredible. It is unique. It is stylish. It is really, really, really cool to watch. And it is something that I believe is very, very much a revolutionary way of seeing professional surfing, because not only are they doing surfing competitions, but they're also doing behind the scenes footage. They're also doing interviews. They're also doing different tours, and they're doing short films. And it is something that is exposing a lot more people to surfing out there. So again, go check that out. World Surf League, of course, started as a very, very small promotion that was hardly paying anyone to surf, but eventually evolved into what it is today. Now, we are going to be discussing another topic. We are going to be moving on to our next topic, and that topic is the topic of Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump has been in the news numerous times since becoming president of the United States of America in a, for some people, shocking 2016 victory. But of course, he is the president still to this day, and he is still in the news to this day. The latest news on Donald Trump is about tax evasion. Now, from 1989 to 1994, or excuse me, 1988 to 1994, Donald Trump had something of a unique relationship with tax and with his companies. He has lashed out at a New York Times report stating that his businesses have taken heavy losses over the years, claiming that the losses were intentional to avoid tax and that a lot of businesses, especially in the real estate industry, used to do that as a sport, quote unquote. And it is something that I find quite unique, is that people were using tax evasion as a sport of sorts and using it as a way to further their businesses. And of course, tax evasion being an extremely illegal way of doing business, it's something that is very unique to hear from the president himself, who could get major backlash for outright admitting that his companies took losses on purpose to avoid tax. Now, of course, it's no small surprise to anyone that Donald Trump has definitely been in some above ground and some below ground deals, some shady and some not shady deals over the years. But one thing is that he is a successful businessman. He has gone from bankruptcy back to a billionaire numerous times, and he has pulled companies from the brink of failure to the heights of success. Now, I'm not saying, of course, that Donald Trump is good or bad. Again, here at Radio Exotica, we don't necessarily go towards opinionated arguments, because it's not really what we're all about. Radio Exotica is more about information, about sharing, about just getting word out there and getting something of an opinion forming amongst the community as opposed to one straight style opinion. We welcome all broad forms of discussion here as long as they are civil and as long as they're respectful. That's why we always ask you guys to chat with us, to come hang with us, to just be involved, because this is something that is live. It is something that you can chat with us directly. Every single message that we see, we definitely going to be talking about. And speaking of that, we have a comment here from a Simcha Blumino. He says, can you talk about Jake Paul's house party? So the truth is, we are going to be talking about that. That is our last topic that we're going to be talking about, which is the house party. And then Shy Bohm comments saying, speak about the Liverpool versus Barcelona game. Well, there's been a lot of people that have requested that, including Nate. Of course, Nate, one of the regular Spreaker listeners since the beginning, especially to Radio Exotica FM. And I thank you, Nate. If you're listening out there, thank you, because you have been one of the most stalwart listeners that we have ever had in the Radio Exotica history. And it is something really, really cool that you have been there since pretty much the beginning. Now, of course, there are other people that are requesting things. We've got one here from Amelia. Amelia says, can you discuss the way that Holland is very much focused on health and on fitness, and it's almost become like a religion? Well, we are going to discuss that. We will definitely discuss that, because that is something that has been requested a little bit in previous episodes. However, we aren't probably going to be discussing that tonight, as there are a lot of topics ahead. So the one topic that we are definitely going to be speaking about, though, is Liverpool versus Barcelona, and of course the other topic, Jake Paul's house party. But just before we do that, we are going to still continue with Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump has stated that a lot of what has been going on is fake news, and that the way that the media portrays him is 100% fake. But to see him outright admit that what the New York Times has stated is false, but for a different reason than usual, is very, very uncharacteristic of Donald Trump. Donald Trump usually does not go into detail about what happened in his past dealings. He likes to stay away from that. He likes to debunk myths in a more positive light for himself. However, in this case, he has gone full out admittance and stated that he definitely had his businesses take massive losses of up to $1 billion just to avoid tax. And he said that that was 30 years ago, and that is definitely a different story and not what happens now. Now, what are your thoughts on Donald Trump? Please comment or in the chat/comment section, or you can tweet us at Exotica FM, and we will get to your topics and get to your comments on these topics as soon as we possibly can. Now, moving on, we are going to go to Jake Paul's house party, and that is a topic of real controversy. Jake Paul, of course, being one of the hottest YouTubers of 2016, and someone who has been a controversial figure since pretty much the beginning. It is something that is very interesting to note, because he has been controversial in numerous ways. Controversial with his neighbors for making huge amounts of noise. Controversial with some of his fans who recorded him being very, very mean-spirited and pretty much a jerk off camera and only being nice to fans on camera. and doing things such as burning t-shirts of his brother during that feud that they had a while back, and other things, and taking kids' merchandise that had any logo resembling anyone else except his own merchandise, as well as having huge feuds between Team 10 members. Now, some of the things that have been going on is things such as Shane Dawson's documentary, which you guys can check out on YouTube on Shane Dawson's channel. He did a documentary with Jake Paul. He did one on Jake Paul, should I say. And it is something of a unique story to see the amount of pressure that he went through. At the same time as starting his YouTube channel after moving across from Vine, he was a Disney star. And unfortunately, he cut ties with Disney, and in his words said it was a mutual agreement because his image was changing and he did not want to affect Disney, and he did not want Disney to affect his image. And his image changed, and a lot of people said it was a change for the better at the time. Unfortunately, a lot of people now are saying that it actually was a change for the worse. He has done numerous outrageous things, such as light massive fires in his pool, and of course the story we're getting onto now, Jake Paul's infamous house party that happened a while ago. Not very, very long ago. It was pretty recent, but something that is very scary is things that have happened at the party. Now, one of the things, of course, that it was reported by Page 6 News 2 days ago was that multiple guests were allegedly drugged at Jake Paul's house party. Now, Jake Paul said that he is taking the allegation of a woman being drugged very, very seriously, and that has a quote from his lawyer. And the thing that is quite perplexing, in my opinion, is that a lot of the times you see celebrities going all out with these things and having massive parties and doing very, very crazy things. And one of the things that I think that Jake Paul did was have an outrageous party. But one of the things that is very scary is if those victims were actually drugged. Of course, this is all alleged. Nothing has been confirmed. There's been no full confirmation on anything that is reported as of now. However, Jake Paul has definitely got into major controversy because of this. It was alleged that guests' drinks were spiked at the party at his California mansion, and as such has caused real outrage by the internet. Now, there's something else, is that one of the drugs mentioned was, of course, mentioned on Drama Alert by Keemstar, which you guys can go check out on YouTube, which was that one of the drugs was a date rape drug. And that is something that is a lot higher level and a lot more serious than what normally happens on these type of occasions with these type of parties. A lot of the time you'll see party drugs such as ecstasy going around, a lot of marijuana going around, but you wouldn't really see drugs like that because that is something that is seriously hectic. For those of you who don't know what the date rape drug is, it is a drug that causes a person to black out and forget things and can cause you to have very, very undesirable results. Now, Logan Paul, apparently as well, to mention this, was hit in the face at the house party during Jake Paul's house party, and that was reported by Hollywood Life. Now, it's interesting that it seems as if this party was outrageous. Now, Jake Paul himself is a very outrageous, outgoing style YouTuber. If you've watched his videos, you'll know that he is very outrageous in what he does. He is very over the top. He's very bombastic, and he pushes the envelope a lot, and he pushes sometimes too far and then has to really rethink what he's doing. Now, his brother Logan Paul has also been embroiled in multiple controversies in his YouTube career, the biggest, of course, being the Japanese suicide forest, which, of course, if you guys don't know, you can go listen to one of the things that I did a while ago here on Radio Exotica FM, and it is the Logan Paul special. You can go listen to that and you can hear my thoughts on what exactly the situation was. But basically, if you guys want a summary of it, he went and filmed a dead body of a Japanese person that had hanged himself on a tree in a Japanese forest that is notorious for people committing suicide in. And he showed this on video. Of course, he blurred the face, but he still showed the body on video, and it caused the most outrage in YouTube at the time. And it was something that was akin to PewDiePie's controversy when Scare PewDiePie was cancelled after a very anti-Semitic incident that he was involved in. However, this was on a level that was very, very serious at the time as well. Logan Paul his series was put on hold indefinitely. However, it is now being renewed as of this recording, as of this broadcast. And at the same time, it seems as if Logan Paul had a complete rethink and redesigned himself. He did a very serious video talking to someone who had survived a suicide attempt and had, bettered himself and was now helping others. However, Logan Paul still continued in his ways. He then drummed up controversy with KSI, a British YouTuber, and had a boxing match with that British YouTuber in which it ended in a draw. Now, many people say that that draw was a marketing tool designed to create a lot more tension and designed to create a lot more desire for a rematch and to create more money. Now, one of the things that the counter argument to that is that they actually ended in a draw. There were official referees. It wouldn't have been a ploy to end in a draw, and it could not have been that pre-planned because that takes a lot more skill. Now, whatever way you look at it, it was definitely a fight that got a lot of attention, and at the same time, it caused a lot of controversy. So the same thing applies for Logan as it does for Jake, in which they are both very controversial YouTubers. We want to know your thoughts. Do you think that those alleged victims were actually drugged, or do you think that it was all a ploy to try and besmirch the name of the Paul family, and in particular Jake Paul? Now we're going to move on. We have 5 minutes left, so we're going to move on to our one of the most interesting, one of the most unique points that we have to talk about, and that is the news in general. So here it is. Here is the news. And in the latest news, the ANC government has stated before the elections that they will fight to the bitter end in order to retain power of this country, with Cyril Ramaphosa saying that if he does retain power in this country, he will fight for change and he will root out corruption. The DA have released a video during the election campaign, during their own election campaign, that has been very, very controversial, with scare tactics as well as tactics that have taken hits directly at the ANC and directly at the EFF. The EFF, the Economic Freedom Fighters, have lashed out at the DA for those tactics, calling them cheap and calling them childish tactics that need to end. There's also been a lot of controversy within the EFF ranks themselves, with Julius Malema being taken to court by a former minister for defamation of character, with the EFF leader himself stating that the EFF's comments could have been taken and could be criticized as being very over the top, extremely aggressive, and even as hate speech, and even unfair. It is something that is unique for Julius Malema to state himself, as he does not usually state that he has gone over the line. Julius Malema having lost his grandmother recently, there was a pouring out of sympathy for him, and even an outpouring from his opposition parties such as the ANC, the Black First, Land First, and the DA, with all of them saying that they are in unity with him and hopes that he can grieve in peace and can find peace and consolidation. Now, the other news, of course, comes in from the other side of the world in America, that Donald Trump has said that he will definitely support the South Korean mission to release food and to provide humanitarian aid to North Korea amid their food crisis. It is one of the worst food crises that they've had in recent memory, as North Korea's crop harvest was terrible this year and has resulted in very low amounts of food and severe food shortages. This, he has stated, will help to bring North Korea back to the table, and South Korea and America have been working together very closely to bring North Korea back to the negotiation table to disarm and to have nuclear disarmament and to have an agreement with South Korea to mend the broken ties. That is the news. Now, of course, comes to the final part of the show, and that is the shout-outs. We've got multiple shout-outs over here. We've got a shout-out coming to a J-Dog. J-Dog shouts out all the way from Mississippi. He shouts out to his entire family and to everybody on that side of the world. And we got another shout-out here coming from an S, just S, okay? Just S. Shouts out to every single person with a letter S in their name. I think that that's a very interesting shout out. We got a shout out from Nate, of course, to anyone in New York City currently. We got another shout out coming from a Michael Jameson. Jameson shouts out to everyone in the state of Oklahoma. And of course, we got another shout out here coming from a Leon. Leon shouts out to every single person in Missouri. Now, that's a lot of American shout outs, so we're going to do a little bit more shout outs from other places. We got a shout out here coming to a Yisrael Jaffe, shouting out to anybody who knows him. We got another shout out here to a Shai Bohm. And then we've got another shout out coming in to a Michael and it's just Michael, and Michael shouts out to anybody who knows him and to his family, and shouts out to any Liverpool supporters. Now, of course, like I said, we are still going to be talking about Liverpool versus Barcelona, and that is something that we decided to hold off until right at the end for all you sport fans. So anybody who's still listening after the shoutouts, usually we end the show here, but at this stage we are going to still be talking about Liverpool versus Barcelona. So we've decided to hold it off right till the end to give you something interesting, to give you something unique to go home with, or to stop listening as soon as the show is over. And of course, one of the things that we have to discuss is the monumental comeback of Liverpool. Now, Wijnaldum, who has been named as a super sub, had scored 2 goals along with Origi's 2 goals to send Liverpool through on a 4-3 aggregate against Barcelona. Barcelona scored in the first leg 3-0 and had all but decimated Liverpool's hopes of reaching the final against either Tottenham or against the other team. However, one of the things that has caused the major outrage, the other team being Ajax, of course, one of the things that has caused major outrage amongst the Barcelona fans is the way that they played in the second leg. According to reports, Barcelona fans are outraged at the fact that they did not play with the same level of skill and precision as they had in the first leg, and almost, quote, threw away the game in an untimely and inconsiderate fashion. That is something that is very, very serious. And of course, on the other side of things, Liverpool fans are incredibly, incredibly happy with the result. There is nothing more that they could have asked for. A extremely unlikely but extraordinary nonetheless comeback from Liverpool with 4-0 against Barcelona at home at Anfield. Now, Jurgen Klopp said that it would not be easy, stating that Barcelona rarely go through a game without scoring, and if they scored an away goal, that could have spelt doom for Liverpool's chances at the finals between either Tottenham or Ajax. However, it is something very, very akin to Liverpool these days, pulling out multiple times, pulling out victories out of nowhere. One of the things that they did was manage to pull a victory out, winning a game in the death minutes of the final minutes of the game to continue their hopes of winning the Premier League. The British Premier League, of course, is one of the most coveted trophies in football history and is something that Liverpool have not won in its modern form ever. And it is something that they definitely are looking forward to attempting to win. And that now rests in the hands of the game between Manchester City and their opponents. And that is something that is very, very scary. Brighton would have to either beat them or draw with them in order for Liverpool to win. If Manchester City win their game, Liverpool's hopes are dashed. Now, that is basically the story of Liverpool. Let us know what you think. Do you think Liverpool have a chance? Do you think that it's going to go to the last minutes? Do you think that Liverpool can win the Champions League? And do you think that Liverpool have a chance to win the Premier League, with Manchester City needing to draw or lose to Brighton in order for that to happen? We have one final shout out here coming from a Simcha Blumino to me, to DJ Twister. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for listening to this Radio Exotica FM talk. We hope that you have enjoyed it. We hope that you have an amazing night. As always, I am DJ Twister. This is Radio Exotica FM. And as always, love easy. Good night.